them behind their behaviors? Is there any evidence I can offer to support that point of view? I believe there is, and there's a reason why so many of those who stalk us are pot smokers, alcoholics, or worse, on things like crystal meth or the latest releases of drugs like Flocka.
Where's your shoe? Where's your shoe, dude?
What?
Where's your shoe? What happened?
What the fuck you talking about, motherfuck you?
Hey, dude, guess what? Dude, seriously,
Yeah.
calm down.
My dear, you gonna feel this in a minute. Bring no dick. You better bring that dick over here. Bring it, nigga. If you don't,
Did you take some?
First, I want to talk to you about what sorcery actually is, from a biblical perspective. The root Greek word used in the Bible for sorcery or witchcraft is pharmakia, from which you might recognize we get our English word pharmacy. There is some debate about whether or not that Greek word was used to denote drug use, but it's undeniable that in the ancient world, sorcery used strange concoctions that we today call drugs. Think of all those magicians who created potions for their spells, or how Alice had to down the drink me bottles before shrinking in size. Just as a side note here, it's interesting how if any of us once had a puffed up sense of ego in any of this, that gang stalking brought it down to size. But that's not the point of today's video at all. Now that we've connected sorcery to drug taking, in part, let's look at something like alcohol, which we often call, interestingly enough, a spirit. That's because alcohol is a spirit. Drinking in excess and allowing it to take over your own senses, keyword take over, is biblically a sin, and one that often leads to other sins, as we all know. Think of those who experience the blacking out phenomenon. What is that? I've known people who blacked out who were still talking and going about as usual, and later they had absolutely no memory of what they said and what they did.
I gave him the show. Somebody call it. I gave him the show. Somebody call it.
Up, motherfucker!
Fuck you!
Give him another beer!
Our society has just gone down the tubes, man. How many drunk drivers have made this claim? Why did you sleep with that guy? Oh, I was drunk. When you really look at it, something like alcohol is immediate possession. You become someone who acts differently. Your thinking is different. You say things you would otherwise not say. Does that remind you of the gang stalking experience real quick? People saying things they shouldn't know, or random things that maybe mean very little to them but a lot to you? Anyway, in short, alcohol inhibits your own sense of morality, of right and wrong. I would argue that an alcoholic is deeply oppressed by demonic spirits, but when someone says that in the modern day, where science gets the final answer on everything, you're mostly laughed out of the room. I just know that the medical community today has made a job of medicalizing many things which are, at their root, fundamentally spiritual in nature. I think it's often used by Lucifer to deceive people, offering them remedies that will never actually work because what one needs is deliverance. They need God. Maybe that's why the most popular recovery programs are based on the 12-step model. Recovered alcoholics themselves seem to have unlocked that truth, the spiritual one. With so much chronic drug use in the world today, does this explain, at least in part, the widespread demonization of our culture I've been talking about in my videos? Why do those people on Flocka, for instance, act like zombies? Heroin addicts prostitute their bodies for their next fix. Chronic pot smoking interferes with one's memory. I argue that illicit drug use, and sometimes prescribed drug use as well, actually opens doorways to the demonic realm, allowing a person or persons to be subtly influenced to act in ways they'd otherwise not act. How many times have we heard a drug addict claim they have no memory of something? Let's also think for a minute how much memory we all seem to just lose. It's a lot. That's a lot of opportunity for the devil to have worked through the flesh vessel we have, all to achieve his own end.
This isn't really your first visit to New York now, is it, Mrs. Lomax?
Yes.
You've done one hell of a job bringing him up, Mrs. Lomax. And I'm sure it wasn't easy.
No.
Mom, we're here.
Yes. Good night to you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Marion. Kevin, hang on. How about Cullen? How's it going? Everything on beam?
That's a long conversation.
Want to come up and tell me?
Now? Let's talk tomorrow.
You sure?
Yeah.
I believe the reason why some of these people in our gang stalking have known intimate details about our life which we'd never even shared with another human being, as just an example, points to the familiar spirit's explanation once again. We're dealing with something fundamentally demonic in gang stalking, and pretty much all of my gang stalkers are chronic pot smokers, alcoholics, or those who dabble in far more illicit drugs. That's not a coincidence. Again, I'm a TI. Coincidences don't exist any longer in my world. Meaningless coincidences are for the unawakened. Just remember, Satan is not all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere present. He's a created being. To the targeted individual, the forces of evil only appear that way because Satan has an army of demons, and these demons have indwelled our human hosts since time immemorial. They can and do communicate with one another. This is why psychic mediums can know things about a person. It's a communication between the spirits inside the one seeking the medium and the spirits inside of the psychic communicating.
But I'm no puppeteer, Kevin. I don't make things happen. Doesn't work like that.
What did you do to Marianne?
Free will. It's like butterfly wings. Once touched, they never get off the ground. No. I only set the stage. You pull your own strings.
What did you do to Marianne?
A gun? In here?
God damn it! What did you do to my wife?
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most depraved act of sexual theater known to man, 1 being your average Friday night run-through at the Lomax's household, I'd say, not to be immodest, Marianne and I got it on at about 7.
Fuck you!
Oh, got me! Got me! Yes! Wow! Oh, yes! Yeah! Step on up, son! Come on, that's good! You gotta hold on to that fury! Yeah, that's the last thing to go. That's the final hiding place. It's the final fig leaf.
Who are you?
Who am I? Who are you? Never lost a case. Why? Why do you think? Because you're so fucking good. Yeah? But why?
Because you're my father.
I'm a little more than that, Kevin. Awfully hot in that courtroom, wasn't it? What's the game plan, Kevin? Was a nice run, Kev. Had to close out someday. Nobody wins them all.
What are you?
Oh, I have so many names.
Satan.
Call me Dad.
Like it or not, you and I were, most likely, once a part of Satan's army, but were one day called out by God for service in his own. That makes us insurgents. We know far more about Lucifer's kingdom than many lifelong Christians, God love them, because we were once a demonized conscript in his army ourselves, even if we had no idea that we were. This makes us a special kind of enemy to Satan, I believe. We're now insurgents. If the powers and principalities of this world are controlled by a kind of wickedness in the heavens, as Ephesians 6:12 tells us is so, then we are terrorists within that kingdom. It's not a coincidence that so many of those after us are drug-addicted and often literal theistic Satanists and practitioners of witchcraft and the occult. It's no coincidence at all. I do hope this video helped in some way to further explain my theories of gang stalking and being a targeted individual by pointing to our demonized culture, which seems to be becoming more and more zombified by every moment and day. Stay strong, stay blessed, stay close to Jesus Christ. I love you.